Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 multiplayer action. Since QUEEK got so hard sniped the other day, I figured let's give him a fair shake, because I actually think that QUEEK is pretty decent right now. So let's go ahead and take a look at the build. We're up against the Dark Elves today. I've got QUEEK Head Taker along with an Assassin. This allows me to use the double debuffs here. Just to quickly point out, Trophy Heads and the Assassin's Trophy are different effects. Both of these guys also got cheaper in the last patch, and both have good offensive stats, low defensive stats, but still. We've got Stand Your Ground to help with that, Verminous Valor, the Warp Shard Armor to decrease armor and melee defense in an area of effect, Dwarf Gouger for self-buff for QUEEK, and then of course the two effects. The Assassin has his Concealment Bombs, which come for free, Assassin's Trophy, the Rival Hide Talisman, one-time use, minus 44 melee attack for 31 seconds, very powerful item, and he's also got Slippery. As for the rest of the build, we've got a mix of weapon teams, Warp Fire Throwers, all flamethrower type weapons were buffed in the last patch with the changes to explosion damage, so I wanted to try them out. Got the Rattling Gunners, the Regiment of Renown there, the Regiment of Renown Jezzails as well. Plague Priest here, throwing some Bless with Filth as these guys start to open up on a couple groups of Harpies. We've got two units of Rat Ogres also supporting here. Huge melee line of Clan Rats, Skaven Slaves, Slave Slingers, pretty straightforward stuff. As for the Dark Elves, they've got the aforementioned Harpies, three groups of them, a front line of Black Ark Corsairs with a couple of Bleak Swords, it looks like, and some Dread Spears, including the Hellebroni. We've also got a Cold One Chariot, a War Hydra. In the back, I heard that Manticore summon go off. It does look like we've got a Supreme Sorceress, Lore of Beasts, just kind of chilling in the back here, content to summon Manticores at a distance, along with two Bolt Throwers. One of the Bolt Throwers already taking quite a bit of damage from the Natty Boobo Sharpshooters, but you can see the Harpies are at the very least disrupting this pocket, even if they're not actually doing that much damage at the end of the day. You know, I'm having to use my Rat Ogres and other units to kind of see them off for the time being. You can see the Jezzails getting some good fire on the Hydra here. It's not going to do too much because of the regeneration, but of course, this thing will likely get to its healing cap in a long battle. And I'm definitely going for a sort of attrition style game here with the Plague Furnace and the summons. The Plague Furnace can obviously do that Mortis Engine style drain when it's in melee, so we're going to move it up, start to get it into some of these melee blobs. You can see my opponent obviously focusing with the Bolt Throwers on the Plague Priest. Very high value target, so very good stuff there. Over here, unfortunately, the Teeth Breakers did get caught up by some Harpies without too much support and mostly taken off, but the Jezzails and the Warp Fire Throwers are still alive here. Warp Fire Throwers still have sort of line of sight issues. You can see some friendly fire coming in on these Council Guard here, who are going to be providing that nice protection buff for QUEEK and the Assassin, and of course the Plague Priest as well, as he's fighting on top of here, will be getting that Guardian effect as well, of course. That nice little 15% physical resistance, so will help against the Bolt Thrower fire. Meanwhile, you can see the Hydra has made contact with QUEEK, will come through the hot Kool-Aid, or sorry, Mountain Dew being dumped on the Corsairs here that are trying to support, and QUEEK and the Assassin actually doing some really nice damage here to the Hydra, getting some side swipes in there. We're going to start some summons as well, get some more Clan Rats in this pocket, and between the rear charge penalty, QUEEK, the Assassin doing a bunch of AoE damage, the Warp Fire Throwers flaming downhill, these Corsairs are going to be done for in a big hurry. Cold One Chariots do punch through into the second line, but the Rat Ogres are going to be in a position to respond. We've seen most of the Harpies off, and I'm starting to get some units rallying, including 7 Teeth Breakers, which are going to be able to hopefully keep some of these units suppressed and keep them from coming back from rout at the very least. Bless with Filth here, going to give some poison on these missile attacks, so again, we can just continue to slow and grind things down as much as possible. Speaking of grinding, the Bolt Throwers have been able to grind down this Plague Priest pretty well, but he's racked up 66 kills so far with that drain effect and just running people over with his Hoopty Cart. And yeah, it's going to be a pretty good time for him. Lots of Skaven Slaves, Slingers, and more coming back from route, so just plenty of bodies still to throw at the Dark Elves here. And you can see the Warp Fire Throwers and the, oh man, I love the Rattling Gunners, I have to say. One of my favorite units for the Skaven. They are just going to tear those Harpies out of the sky. Too much leadership damage, and they get routed off. Meanwhile, you can see QUEEK and the Assassin making their way into the back line here. The Assassin going very aggressively, was trying to chase the Hydra off. Unfortunately for me, the Hydra rallied, and the Assassin's going to get a little bit caught out here. Granted, the Assassin with his high offensive stats and good weapon strength will be able to do quite a bit of damage to the Hydra, so it's not too big of an issue. Slippery, of course, gives him lots of extra speed, 67 speed, basically as fast as a unit of cavalry. And yeah, he'll be able to make contact and keep this Hydra tied up here. Here comes QUEEK as well. Oh man, doing the windmill charge. just full blown, all excited. Obviously, there's this massive store of warpstone over here in this sort of mine, which is the whole reason that the Skaven are here to begin with. Clearly, QUEEK is already just giddy at the thought of all that warpstone. But Council Guard are back here as well, again, providing that critical extra little physical resistance there. Will help quite a bit against this Hydra. And here comes the Supreme Sorceress. The balance power very close at this point, but this is a bit of a mistake in my opinion, just because I can drop all these debuffs on her, and you can see she has 0 attack, 0 defense. Does have plenty of units supporting, but at the same time, QUEEK and the Assassins are going to be able to get in and get some damage done on her specifically. So you can see QUEEK with his red blades there, getting some swings in on the Supreme Sorceress here, and her eyes glowing with rage, just getting canned from both sides here as the Assassin and QUEEK just quickly work her down. The Hydra pulled away from the fight, but now being suppressed and slowed down by that debuff there, down to infantry speed and even slower. The Warp Fire Thrower also coming forward. Ooh, a nice breath attack. Actually ends up just about finishing off the Teeth Breakers there, but the Warp Fire Throwers are able to get a little bit of damage in as well, and the Hydra very critically wasn't supporting the Supreme Sorceress as she was fighting QUEEK and the Assassin, and now QUEEK delivers a righteous strike of justice, taking her head. So, you can best believe there will be a little Dark Elf head mounted up on that rack tomorrow. And yeah, QUEEK and the Assassin now are going to start to focus on the Hydra, and you can see with the death of the Supreme Sorceress, the balance power returns pretty decisively in my favor. Again, more rallying units, just keeping the Dark Elf infantry bogged up, and the Rat Ogres have now come, since most of the flying threats are dealt with. They dealt with the second Manticore summon. They're in here just tearing apart these poor Corsairs. I say poor Corsairs, they 100% deserve this, let's be real. They are filthy Dark Elves. But, yeah, still going to be a terrifying fate for them nonetheless. A few Spearmen in here to support, so I'm definitely going to try and pull away from that. Don't want to get too caught up there. But you can see the Hydra up to its healing cap here, and QUEEK and the Assassin able to do quite a bit of work there. Not really taking too much damage themselves, and of course the Council Guard being unbreakable does mean that they still have enough unit models left to confer that Guardian buff. Meanwhile, over here, Natty Boobos made their way up and through the forest and are picking off the last of these Dark Elf crewmen here. We've got the Warp Fire Throwers also still on station, making their way through the mud and the swamps to finish off that Dark Elf Bolt Thrower crew. Ooh, man, looks like they pretty much escaped the flame there. One of them might have got flamed on, but that's alright. We'll check back in with QUEEK as he and his buddies start to dismantle the artillery pieces here, start to synchronize, decapitate these these filthy crewmen here. And yeah, we've got the Rat Ogres coming forward. Gisele's continuing to drop some shots on the Hydra there. Just keep up the DPS and the leadership damage. Hellebronai coming back, but just slowly being dragged down by masses of Skaven numbers. And the Warp Fire Throwers now going to get into a position to get their last, Operation Flame attack here. And just absolutely roast through these dread spears, bleak spears, dread staves, whatever. However you want to call them, whatever edgy Dark Elf name you want to give them, they will be crispy all the same. So, very fun battle, well played to my opponent. Hopefully you guys enjoyed watching this one. Yeah, honestly, I think that QUEEK and the Assassin are pretty decent, especially if you have the Council Guard to give them both Guardian. You can take that Plague Furnace, which is also a strong character in its own right, but just having QUEEK and the Assassin both for relatively cheap gives you a serious amount of Lord-stopping power. And in another replay that I won't show you because my opponent didn't bring a caster, I was able to easily kill Saurus Oldblood on a Carnosaur with these two, with those stacking debuffs. And it's just so powerful, and the fact that they both got cheaper in the last patch means that you can run them pretty cost effectively with a nice wide army like this, again, especially with the Council Guard to provide them that Guardian. The Plague Priest did end up getting taken out there, but 81 kills at the end of the day, got off a couple summons, so he definitely paid for himself there against that Dark Elf infantry rush. For the rest of my army, obviously the low tier rats just dying in droves as they should, but Warpfire Throw ended up with 62 kills, pretty decent. It had those... I think it had 1 XP Chevron to begin with. Maybe it had 2. But 62 kills, not bad. The Teeth Breakers were a little bit of a rough pick. Kind of got swamped by Harpies, but still able to kind of draw them into an unfavorable situation, where then the Rat Ogres definitely did some heavy lifting. 75 kills apiece, XP Chevron for one of them. Natty Boobos, of course, helping to take out the Bolt Throwers was nice, and just keeping up that perpetual ranged pressure is very strong for the Skaven. As for my opponent, you would expect a lot of kill totals on these infantry, and 225 for the highest on that Blackheart Corsair. I do actually quite like Corsairs in this matchup. I don't like them in a lot of matchups, but this is one where they definitely do shine quite well. They are just a hard counter against most Skaven infantry. Personally, though, I would probably have dropped like this Bleak Sword, for example, for a Dark Rider. Maybe dropped one of these Harpies and tried to squeeze in maybe 2 or 3 more Dark Riders just to fill out this army completely and give you some light cavalry to chase routing units. It's very important for the Skaven that you chase units off the field as much as possible because they have that swarm tactic. It's very, very effective when they can bring routing units back to the field. So I almost always like to have at least 1 to 2 units of light cav, preferably the cheapest light cav possible, just specifically to run down routing units, whether that be your dire wolves, your Chaos Hounds, or in this matchup specifically, Dark Riders, even without shields, would be very good at just chasing those routing Skaven units off and preventing them from coming back. So hopefully you guys enjoyed watching that one. I know I sure enjoyed playing it. Definitely going to be bringing you some more QUEEK action in the coming days, so stay tuned for that. Hopefully you guys like that. If you do want to see more, be sure to like and subscribe. Hit that bell notification so every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.